Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a flip through of my 2023 reading journal for the first quarter of the year. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. So as I said in my introduction, we're going to be doing a flip through of my 2023 reading journal. 2022 was the year that I got back into reading. It was also the first year that I put a reading journal together for myself. Last year, I shared a flip through for the first 6 months and then a separate flip through for the second 6 months of the year. But I am loving this journal so much that I'm feeling compelled to do quarterly flip throughs. This journal itself is from Archer and Olive. This is a collab with Amy Tangerine. I absolutely fell in love with this cover, and when I saw it, I instantly wanted it to be my reading journal. The only scary part about that is that this is craft paper, and I've never really worked with a journal that's predominantly craft paper, so a little hesitant about that, but I just love this cover so much I couldn't help but go with it. We're a quarter through the year and this thing is already really stuffed up, which is kind of wild. I was anticipating that I would be able to get my whole year's worth of reading in here no problem, but now I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm going to zoom on in just a little bit just so that you can get a clear look at this. Still haven't put my name in here. If we open up, I have my cover page here with some cute little washi and a quote from Stephen King, and then we're going to go immediately into my reading rainbow spread. This is a spread that I put in my journal last year, where basically it's a visual representation of how many books I read each month. I do have a key right here, and each month is a different color. I fill in the spine of one of these books every time I finish a book. As you can see, I've read a decent amount so far this year, especially in March. March was a pretty bananas reading month for me. I initially only had this as a 2-page spread, but I ended up putting in this page in the middle here because I really didn't think I had given myself enough books, and with how much I've read so far this year, that's definitely true. So I absolutely love this spread. It's great. And then we go right into my TBR. I did leave myself a ton of pages for my TBR this year. I didn't leave myself enough last year, and I filled up quite a bit of this so far, but I do still have some room left over. We do have my book of the year spread. I haven't updated it with my March pick yet, but I do need to do that. And then we have my Instagram challenge spread. I have books for the first 6 months of the year so far, which is really exciting. And then after that, we go immediately into January. Now, when I shared with you all the setup of my intro pages for this journal, I had kind of finished off here. Well, actually, I'd kind of finished off with the next page, but I ended up really not liking the way that page came out, so I switched things up. I initially had created all these tiny little boxes that I was going to use in black paper, blackout paper, to put the different things that I like to include for each book in my book spreads, but the black paper just wasn't working for me, so I ended up putting 2 pages together here. You can see they're kind of opening up a little bit, and then kind of starting from scratch. So I did keep this January by the day page. I really like this. This is a way for me to keep track of each day that I read by putting a little dot on the date, but also for keeping track of how long it took me to get through each book that I read. So that was pretty cool. As you can see, 100 Years of Lenny and Marco took me a long time. The off-campus series I kind of like flew through, and then we get into each of my individual book spreads. For this month, I decided to add in some colored paper from one of my Archer and Olive notepads. I added in some washi tape, some stamps. I used my large thin stamps to mark off which book of the year it was that I was reading, and I love the way that these pages came out. I thought that they were really fun, and it was just a really great creative outlet, being able to put these pages together. This is a book I still think about. Then She Was Gone. My best friend recommended that to me. It was incredible. Highly recommend that if you haven't read it. And after your Love and Luck, which was the last book I read in January, I have my recap page. I decided for 2023 to go with a 2-page recap page just so things weren't super clustered together. I also decided to kind of harken back to my cover page for the month. So you're going to see that whatever my cover page kind of theme or design is, that's what I am going to go with for my recap page. And one thing I didn't include on here was how many reading days I had, but at the same time, like, I have that in my by the day spread. That's what these pink dots mean. I did read every single day of January 2023, so that would kind of be, I guess, redundant info anyways. And then we're going to head into February. I decided to go with a very pink theme for Valentine's Day, and I had really just gotten into TCMC washi tape when I put this together. So as you can see, I incorporated quite a few different washi tapes from TCMC. I did that same February by the day spread. I actually made an error down here, so I had to tape in another sheet of paper. I did read every single day of February, which is really exciting. And one goal that I had for myself for February was to not layer a different colored sheet of paper on the craft paper for this month. I loved the way that these pages came out, but they're very bulky, so I really wanted to try to embrace the craft paper and utilize the craft paper for February. I did go with a little bit of a different kind of layout for my spread for each book, putting the book, what book of the year it was, and the book cover kind of in the middle, and then everything else around it. And I do like the way that this came out. It was definitely very different for me. I did include a little bit of washi and some stamps. As you can see, I went with pinks for my stamps and for the marker that I used to put in my ratings. This book was awesome. Love this so much. You're going to see that some of them don't have quotes filled out, and that's because they're usually arcs. A lot of times I just go on Goodreads and I look at the quote section for each book, and that's how I get quotes to put in here. But for arcs, there usually isn't that quote section yet, so eventually I will go back and fill those in. After A Court of Thorns and Roses, we're going to go into my February recap page. Again, made this similar to how my February intro page was. Did some washi tape from TCMC, even incorporated a little stamp over here for some more deco. And then we're going to head into a couple of, or I think just one spread. Yeah, just one spread that really should have gone in the front of my journal. But that I didn't kind of come up with until February, and I had already done my February cover page, so I decided to wait till the end of the month to put it in. And that is trackers to keep track of the mystery thriller book that I read each month and the poetry book that I read each month. This is a goal that I have for myself for 2023. I just think it would be really, really fun to do, and so I wanted to be able to keep track of it somewhere, and it just needed a spread. So again, in 2024, definitely something, if I do something similar to this, maybe with different genres, I want to try to put that in the front of my planner, but I'm learning as I'm going, and that's okay too. After these pages, we have my March intro pages for 2023. I decided to go with this kind of like washi banner kind of vibe. I've seen this done before for planning spreads, and I think it looks so cute. And because March has the beginning of spring in it, I thought it was very appropriate with this floral washi here. I did make a little error when I was putting these lines around. I wasn't intending to do this double line situation, but I think in the end it came out okay. I again have that by the day spread where I can keep track of how long it took me to read each book. I did read every single day in March, which is really exciting. I basically read every single day in 2023 for the first 3 months of the year. And then I ended up deciding to stick with just using the craft paper here. I went back to a more similar layout to what I usually do, with kind of having the book cover in one corner with whatever book of the year it is next to that. And again, some of these are missing quotes because they are arcs. Especially in March, I read a lot of arcs or listened to a lot of audiobook arcs. And so I definitely am going to have to go back and put a bunch of quotes in. I did go with like a green theme, as you can see. So with the title page for March, there is this green color in the floral washi and then this green stripe washi. And so you can see that the green stamp that I used, and I used a green marker to fill in the dots for which, for the ratings for each book. And then after +1, I basically had an extra page because I wanted a 2-page recap page, and I don't want it to be like the front of this and then the back of it. I want it to be 2 pages across this way. For the first 2 months of the year, it kind of worked out with the number of books I read. I had my last book page on like the right hand page, but it didn't for March. So I just printed out this little quote that says, "A writer only begins a book, a reader finishes it." It's a quote from Samuel Johnson, and just kind of plopped it right in the middle of the page here. And then we do go into my March recap page. I decided to do those washi tapes kind of coming up from the bottom to vary just a little bit from the intro page for March. And then one thing I do wish I would have done here, and I kind of didn't think about it, was I wish I would have used a green highlighter in the back here instead of pink. I do like the way the pink looks. It's very delicate, and there is pink in this washi, but because I did primarily use green for this month, I wish I would have had these headers be green as well. And then after this, there's one more page that I want to share with you all, and that is this A to Z challenge page that I made for myself after March. I, again, was not anticipating doing this when I started out the year, but I was thinking more and more about it, and I just thought it would be a fun thing to keep track of. I'm not necessarily going to pick books to fulfill this challenge, but I think it'll be really fun at the end of the year just to see how many of these I happen to have been able to accomplish in terms of reading a book for each letter of the alphabet. There are definitely a few that I could fill in that I haven't, because the first word in the title is oh god, how would I rephrase it? The first word in the title is technically the. So like, as you can see, each first word is a legitimate word. It's not a or the. And so there are books in here where I could have used like that book. I think like The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot is an example. Now, I did read a different book that began with O, but I almost put that in here. And then I said, well, technically the first word of the book is the. So there are a couple of other ones like that, like The Deal is one. And again, I had a D book, The Goal, The Mistake. So I'm holding off on putting those in because I'm hoping that I do just read other books that have a legitimate first word of whatever letter I need here. But I do think that at the end of the year, if I don't, I could always put in like The Mistake here, The Goal here, like, and that wouldn't be incorrect per se. And then that's going to be it for this flip through. After that A to Z challenge, we do go into April. I love the way that this journal is coming out so far this year. It's just such a fun creative outlet for me. I love being able to make spreads in here without having to like record them or anything like that. It's just something I do for myself in the moment, and I really, really enjoy that. If you have any questions or comments about how I utilize my reading journal or the supplies that I use, please don't hesitate to put them down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.